So, have you ever repeated a positive affirmation to yourself and just felt, well, absolutely nothing? If you have, you are definitely not alone. The thing is, the problem usually isn't your goal, it's the method you're using. Today, we're going to dive into a totally different approach, a framework called the OS method that goes way beyond just empty words to create some real, lasting change. And really, it all comes down to this one simple but incredibly powerful idea from the philosopher Neville Goddard. Feeling is the secret. Just hang on to that phrase. Trust me, by the end of this, you're going to see how it's the key to, well, pretty much everything we're talking about. All right, first up, let's go ahead and tackle the big one, affirmations. You know them, they're probably the most popular technique out there, but for so many of us, they're also the most frustrating. So we're going to break down exactly why they so often fail and, more importantly, how to fix them. I mean, this is the central question, isn't it? We repeat these positive phrases, over and over, really hoping something's going to click. But more often than not, we just end up feeling a little silly. So why doesn't it work? Why do these words we're saying just feel so completely hollow? And right here, this is the core mistake that almost all of us make. We think the goal is just about repeating the words, kind of like a parrot, right? But as it says here, that's really just noise. The real goal is to condition the mind. Repetition is just one of the tools to get there. It's a way to focus your mind so that it can start to generate new emotions and eventually new behaviors. And oh boy, this is where the confusion really kicks in. One book tells you, write it in the present tense, but then another one says, no, focus on the future. It's a mess, and you can't move forward if you don't have clarity. But what if the way out of all this confusion had nothing to do with grammar at all? What if it was all about one simple, powerful thing, emotion? Okay, so if emotion is the key, then how in the world do we generate it on command? Well, it starts by treating our minds with a little more respect. We can't just throw random phrases at it and hope for the best. First, we've got to give it a really clear objective. We need to build what we call an architecture of intent. Now, this idea actually comes from a fascinating field called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it basically sees the mind as this goal-achieving device. It's always trying to solve problems. But, and this is a big but, for it to work properly, you have to give it precise instructions. You've got to tell it exactly what you want it to do with the information you're about to feed it. And the process for this, it's actually incredibly simple. It's just a quick 2-step script that you run before you even start your affirmations. First, as you see in step 1, you state your intention, speaking directly to your mind and body. Then, for step 2, you give the command. You're literally instructing your mind to use the phrases that follow to change your emotions and your behaviors. You're giving it a job to do. And what's so crucial here is that you're no longer just repeating words into the void. You are setting the stage. You're basically telling your mind, hey, pay attention. This next part is important. You've given it a clear mission, and that makes your subconscious so much more receptive to the affirmations that come next. So we set our intention, but that's really only half the equation. Now we need to fuel the whole process. And that brings us right back to our central theme, doesn't it? The fuel, as we said at the very beginning, is feeling. This is the next logical hurdle, right? It's like, okay, I get it. I need to feel it. But what if the generic affirmations I find in books just don't do anything for me? How do you find or even create the phrases that will actually generate that powerful, resonant emotion? So let's just clear up all that confusion about past, present, or future tense once and for all. It was never about the grammar. It has always been about one single thing: how the words make you feel. That is the only metric that truly matters. Think about it for a second. How do you know you truly believe something? Well, you feel a sense of certainty about it. How do you know you don't believe something? You feel doubt, or maybe nothing at all. Emotion is the language your subconscious understands. It's the bridge that connects a thought in your head to a real-world action. So how do you find these emotionally charged phrases? Well, there's this brilliant little technique called the reflection method. And instead of trying to force a feeling onto some generic words, you actually reverse engineer it. Think about a time you heard a line in a movie, or maybe you read something in a book that just hit you. It gave you chills. That is your affirmation. If that phrase connects with your goal, capture it, write it down right away. And honestly, this is the crucial shift in thinking. You stop trying to inject emotion into empty words. Instead, you become a collector of phrases that are already emotionally supercharged, just for you. So from day one, your entire process is powered by genuine, authentic feeling. Okay, so we have our intent, We have our emotionally charged affirmation. Now, for the final piece of the OS method, we're going to amplify that feeling by turning it into a total mental experience. We're going to create a symphony of the senses. The tool we're going to use for this is called synesthesia. It's this really fascinating neurological effect where stimulating one of your senses automatically triggers another one. You know, think about how the smell of your grandmother's cooking can instantly bring up a vivid image of her kitchen. That's a blend of smell and sight. We're just going to leverage this blending effect, but intentionally. So why even bother with this? Well, there are two huge reasons. First, it dramatically amplifies the feeling we're after. And second, engaging multiple senses at once literally lights up different parts of your brain, creating a much deeper and way more powerful mental imprint. So how do you do it? Well, you build it in layers. Let's just say your strongest sense is auditory. You would begin with that first layer, sound. You say your emotionally charged affirmation out loud. You really hear the words. Then, while you're still kind of feeling the echo of those words, you immediately add the second layer, sight. You vividly visualize what it looks like to have already achieved your goal. See all the details, the colors, the environment. Make that internal image really big and bright. And as you hold both the sound and the sight in your mind at the same time, you focus on the final, culminating layer, the feeling. You just tune in to the amplified emotion that this blend of senses creates. See, it's not just a thought anymore, it's a full-on experience. And that is the payoff. When you combine that clear intention, a truly resonant phrase, and this multi-sensory technique, you're no longer just hoping for change. You are actively creating a deep, permanent imprint on your subconscious. You are finally, truly operating your own system. So forget luck and forget mindless repetition. The OS method is really about three things: precise intention, authentic emotion, and a full sensory experience. You now have the tools, your mind is the canvas, and the only question left is, what will you create?